Good evening, ladies, and welcome to another Her Season conversation. I'm so glad that you guys are joining us. So excited to have you in the room with us. And we're just going to begin with a quick prayer, and then we're going to get started. We're going to introduce our guests tonight, and then we're going to get started. Father, I thank you for another opportunity for all of us to come together again and have a conversation that we trust will be edifying and that will encourage all of us in the room, all of the ladies on the replay. Father, we thank you for our special guest, Kache, tonight. We thank you for her saying yes and agreeing to join us and to share her story and her perspective. We thank you, Lord, that this conversation will be enlightening. And we ask, Lord, that you be in the midst, that you take over the conversation, that you direct this conversation. We thank you now that we will have no more technical difficulties, no more electricity interruptions, internet interruptions, and that this conversation will go wonderful tonight and it will be memorable and a blessing to all of us that will join. In your name we pray, amen. So once again, welcome, ladies. Welcome to all of you on the replay. I go back and I watch these replays like a year later, and they always bless me. So I'm looking forward to watching this again because it's always some things that you don't catch when you're watching it in real time. But tonight we are chatting Girlfriend 101, all things girlfriendhood, with our beautiful guest, Kache. And you know what? As I was preparing for this, I thought to myself, well, I wonder if in the Bible it mentions dating or courting or anything of that nature. And I looked and I didn't find the specific words dating or the specific words courting. However, we see so many examples of men and women expressing their interests, expressing their attraction, and the process of them becoming married, but we don't really see the specific word of dating or courting. And we see how everyone has a different perspective of how they do it, because, you know, you see how not to do it with Bathsheba and David, how David literally snatched this man's wife and kill off the husband, right? And then you see Ruth and Boaz, and how he saw Ruth gleaning in the field and was like, who's that? You know, we see all these different examples and different ways of how you pursue. And so tonight we're just going to be diving into that, the process of, you know, being intentional in our pursuit and in our I guess, our walk out, you know, with Christ as we are journeying to the altar. And so we're going to hear from the perspective of Kache tonight. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
So if you do not mind, I want us to start with you just sharing, who is Kache Knowles?
Okay, so newly engaged. I'm from Eleuthera. I am.
Any time to do the blah blah blah, like some drum bells, some collecting, like you just boom boom. Okay, congratulations. Continue.
I'm from Eleuthera. I am the middle sister. I have two siblings, and I'm the middle child. What else? I'm a creative. That's all I got.
You're like, that's all I got. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
When did you get engaged? Because I know you said newly engaged.
Yeah, so I got engaged on the 26th of July. It's a little bit new, so I'm like, yeah, 26th of July. This year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, what is your fiance's name and how did you guys meet? How long were you together?
Okay. So my fiance's name is Stan. We have been together for 7 years, since we got together in 2017. So we met, Like I said, I'm from Eleuthera. And so we met in Eleuthera. So I studied biology in school. And when I finished school, I was applying to jobs. And one of the places that I really wanted to work was the Island School. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like a environmental institute in Eleuthera. And it's like always been like a dream place for me to work. And that is the place that he was working. And so I knew that prior to getting this interview at this at the Island School. And the reason that I knew that is because 3 years earlier, I happened to meet Stan's dad in Lowe's in Nassau with my mom. So she recognized him. He's a really well-known artist. And my mom recognized him and literally just went over to introduce herself to him. And he started talking about his son, who is named Stan, and how he studied biology and how he likes the environment and loves Eleuthera. So I was standing there, just thinking to myself, wow, what a guy. Like, just like, very similar, interests as me. But I remember at the time thinking to myself that like the likelihood of hearing about someone just like in passing and then meeting that person and then also being compatible and then also dating is like fair. It only happens in the movies. That was my thought. And so fast forward a year later, I went to the Island School to meet someone in another field, like completely unrelated to meeting Stan. But like I said, the Island School has always been a place that I wanted to work. So I ended up going to the Island School to meet one of our now mutual friends, to find out more about like aquaponics, which is like a discipline in the science field. And at the end of the day, I end up finally building up the courage to be like, is there someone by the name of Stan Burnside that works here? And he was just like, oh yeah, we just passed him on the bridge. Cause like, I only know his name. Like, I don't really know how he looks or anything like that. Like, I just know that Stan Burnside works at this place, and he just has
this because of his dad.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And he has 3 qualities that sounds like it matches mine. And when the guy was just like, yeah, we just passed him on the bridge. Like, do you want me to get him? And I was like, no, like, that's just crazy. Like, yes, I know he's here, but I'm not going to go out my way to meet him. And then also tell him like, oh yeah, a year ago, your daddy meet my mommy in Lowe's and you did sound cool. That's crazy. So I was just like, no, it's okay. So that was it. That was my opportunity. A year later, I finally got an interview to actually work at the Island School. And I end up being called there at the Island School to have the interview and then spend the day to see like if I like the work. And the person who was interviewing me like introduced me to everybody like at the place. And she took me into like one of like the dorms, and I saw this guy on his laptop, and I was just like, okay, I think this him, not me blushing. I was like, I think this him. So like, I definitely, before I met him, like had like prepped myself, because this is like 3 years in my head, from my point of view, in the making. And she was just like, Stan, I want you to meet our like new potential hiree. I don't know if that's a word. Kache. And then I was like, hey, really cool, but like not cool at all. I was like freaking out. From his point of view, he would say that I didn't like him from then. But I think that because I had had all this like built up, it's just like, oh my goodness, I finally get to meet him. So that's where we met. I don't know if I should continue past there.
Yeah, you could continue.
Okay. So
to like where it got to the point that you guys started dating,
right.
like, even though you build up the courage.
Right. So he ended up we ended up working together like normal for about 4 months. I was only there for 4 months because I was going to Spain to do my master's. And so it was just a very like strictly like coworker friendship. We just like got along very well and it was just cool until I think about, I would say like the month before I was about to leave, like we really started to like show interest in one another and like hanging out a lot more, like watching TV shows together, like going on, like it was a very, we're big into like the environment and like swimming and doing outdoor stuff. So like doing like down island trips and stuff. And so we showed we were interested in each other, but it's like I leaving in a month. So on our like one of our last down island trips, we had a very serious, mature conversation and was just like long distance probably isn't gonna work. And we both agreed that, this was nice. It was like fun, it was cool, but we're not willing to like put in the work for long distance. So and we've talked about it quite a bit. From his point of view, he said that he didn't want me to give up on my dreams of pursuing my master's because he know if he did put the moves on me, I would have just like throw my life away.
Not the moves.
Right, and like give up on my master's. So he was letting me go. Anyway, I end up leaving to go do my master's. And one of the pivotal moments when I got there, like Spain had always, I did my master's in Spain, and Spain had always been a place that I really wanted to live in and be a part of. And when I got there, I had a lot of culture shock. It wasn't how I had always pictured it. And I remember he literally communicated with me from the time my plane landed straight until like just every single day. So I remember there was one day in particular, he messaged me and was just like, I'm just so happy, like you're having such a good time in Spain. Like, I'm just like happy for you. And I called him and I just started crying. And then like I started crying and just like letting all of these emotions out about like how it's not what I expected it to be. And then I stopped and was just like, is this too much? Like, like it was a lot for, I don't know, I guess like in my head, like the span of time that we'd known each other. And then he was just like, no, like lay it on me. And that was like just a very like huge core memory because it was like my first time where it's just like, someone just like allowing me to be my emotional self, where it's just like my expectations are different and just letting me like get all these emotions out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just continue communicating and talking all the time. And he said in his head, he was just like, yeah, we ain't doing long distance, but like, I'm going to talk to you every single day until I guess his plans came true. So that would have been, it's been so long. It's been 7 years. That would have been in, I would say like May. And he came and visited me in August. First time in Europe, literally coming, buying a plane ticket, coming to see me. And that is when I became his girlfriend on that trip. So yeah, and we've been together ever since.
And this was 2017.
This would have been 2017, and I finished my master's in 2018. We've been long distance for, out of the 7 years, I would say 4.5 years. So it was long distance for a good while. So yeah.
So I was gonna ask you though, but you answered that if you had finished there, because you said you didn't like it and you cried on the phone.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say I decided to just head back home.
I finished, I got my master's, and then I came back to Eleuthero where he was living at the time, but he was in South Eleuthero and I was in Central, which is like an hour drive away. Mm-hmm. So I still consider that long distance because we still had to like schedule time to see each other like on the weekends. And then after that, he moved to Bimini for a new job. So that was another island away. And then the pandemic happened. So I was in Eleuthera and then he was in Nassau.
Yeah.
And then I finally moved to Nassau. Yay.
So now y'all both are in Nassau.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the in between from that point where the visit happened in Spain and you guys made it official to last July where you got engaged.
It's July.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. This
Yeah.
July where you got engaged. At what point in that span did you start to realize like, okay, this is getting serious now. This is beyond like just my buddy to go on the trip
Right.
with. Like, where did you realize it was getting serious?
So I don't think that I have any like distinct moment of when I think it was always serious.
Okay.
Like from the get-go, he demonstrated to me that like he wasn't like he was serious. Like that was like from him coming to Spain, like it was always just like very intentional, very clear about like what his plans are for us. And I feel like we both um took the relationship serious from the jump, like just really understanding that like what we had was special. From my end, like remembering how long it took for me to get and meet him. It was something that like we always like understood was just like we hold our relationship with like a huge responsibility on both ends. And I feel like because both of us was serious, like it allowed so much things to be easier because we both knew where we was going. So marriage was like always, like always like the intention. And I think also too, because we were long distance, although the distance was hard, it was always like we had our sights set on being in the same place. So it's always like this very like clear, this is where we're moving together, like moving towards. I definitely know that like because he demonstrated like his intentions very early on, it allowed me to lean in. I feel like women tend to like commit before men. And I think for me, I was just like, boy, like you got to be serious about me before I serious about you. And like, he just was always very like clear. Like I never had to guess or wonder. I lied. I guessed and wondered because I was just like, you're about to trick me. You're about to trick me into being serious before you serious. So Stan definitely took on the responsibility of just being very like clear with communicating with me, even though like a good portion of our relationship was in the early days was me being like, you sure? You sure though? Like, tell me if you're serious. And him just constantly reassuring me that he was serious.
I was going to ask if both of you always knew that or made it clear that it was headed towards marriage, or if you were just like, you know what, we can just play this by ear.
I feel like I think that I was the one who was more, not so much hesitant, but scared. Like I didn't want to get hurt. So I definitely did not lean in as much as he did. Like I was more on the reserve, like not necessarily that I ain't sure about him, but just based on like my prior experience before meeting him, it's just like my guards are up. And so yes, I is a serious gal, but you have to let me know that you're serious about this before I like completely give myself to this relationship. So I think like I spent a good portion of the relationship being like, like before like letting myself completely be trusting in the relationship more than anything.
Yeah.
But he was always very clear.
Seeing his comment, why you like me, just reminded me of one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. So like, what do you think are some of the qualities specifically for him that made him a great boyfriend? But then also, what do you think is some of the qualities that would make someone a great girlfriend?
Okay, that's a double question. You gotta remind me. I gotta forget the second part of it. So
Start with Stan first, and then we go.
right. So one of the biggest things, so previously before meeting Stan, I had not been in very good relationships. I'd actually been in very horrible relationships. And one of the things that after my previous relationship had ended, that I really, 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 really needed from my next partner was someone who was kind. So that was like at the forefront of like in terms of like me looking for someone, and not someone nice, someone who was just like generally just a kind person to like anybody they meet, like they are like a giver and a kind person. And when I met Stan, one of the things that I observed was that he was like everyone's go-to for like doing stuff, and like even if it was at like a bad time or it wasn't convenient, like he would just always make time for people. And that was something I noticed before I even really started to like him. Like I remember it was somebody who like broke down in a van, like maybe an hour away from where we was working. It was 6 o'clock. It was time to clock out. And I'm pretty sure it was also a Friday. And they called Stan and he was just like, I broke down. Like, can you come with another van to pick me up? And he was just like, sure. I remember I look up from my desk. I say, what? No way.
You wasn't gonna do that, Kache.
No, like Stan is the better part of me. I ain't scared to tell nobody that. Like he just say, yeah. I say, ain't no way. But that was like something that I was like, something that drew me to him. It's just like I really needed a kind person from my own soul. And then another thing that drew me to him was how calm he was. Like he's very, I always say, like very steady. So like I am, as you can maybe tell from my demeanor, very like, sometimes it's be good, sometimes it don't be good. So I have a lot of emotions, and he was just always very like, no matter what the circumstances were, Stan just has such a calm and anchored character. And for me, I was just like, I like that because I need someone to balance me in a way. So there was one particular time at the island school, me and my coworker, we had like a class to teach and we couldn't find something. Me and her ripped that campus apart looking for this something. Like, I mean, it was like chaos, us trying to find a thing. We finally bucked Stan on the road, go into the class and like, okay, you know what, whatever, like we don't need it. And I remember so distinctly, like our car, like we was going in opposite direction and our cars like stopped, and Stan just had on some shades. His hand was up, like up on the side of the window, and we was just like, we can't find a thing. And he was just like, oh, it's in the back seat. And I just was like, hey, that's nice. I know what that is. But I need that in my life. Like, it was just very like, he didn't let our chaos, he didn't let our chaos, like, I don't know, shake him. And that's why like I describe him as like an anchor, which is like, no matter what going on in my life, Stan is very steady. And that's something that I liked about him. Other than that, like just a very honest person, funny, smart, just a lot of different things,
Yeah. And I like, it seemed like a common theme amongst what you were saying was like just selflessness, kindness. I see the comment, dependable, quality. Those are good examples. So from the female perspective, what are some good qualities to be a great girlfriend in your opinion?
What are the good qualities to be a good
And Stan, since you commented, I want you to put your perspective too.
Yeah, Stan, give me some qualities that's good to be a good girlfriend. Boys, it's harder to like measure yourself because it's like I know what my shortcomings are. So it's like it's harder over here. I think that for me, what are the qualities of a good girlfriend? I did not prepare for this question at all.
Yeah, I know. I threw that one in there.
Threw this on me. I feel like
That's it. She said that's already one, self-awareness.
thank you. I appreciate that. I am very self-aware. I think I communicate very, very well. Thank you. I am supportive as well. See, you just don't remember what you have to offer. Um,
He says you're the best grower. What do you grow?
why would you bring that up? I always call myself the best grower because I always is like, I don't know, like is grow. So I always feel like I'm the best grower. Like I don't know, I spend a lot of time like analyzing myself and like reflecting on traits that are good, but also a lot of the bad traits are the traits that I always want to work on. So it's like, even that question in itself is like, I'm more aware of the things that I need to work on and that the Lord is still working on with me than I am of the traits that it's just like, I know all the good things that I do, but the ones that are the ones I need to work on are louder. So I always like is say like I'm a good grower because I always work on these things. But I think that I'm very supportive, very loving. I definitely we both put a lot into our relationship. I feel like trust is a very, very big one. And that's something that we I had to work on a lot, especially in the early parts of the relationship. And then communication, like we communicate very, very, very well. Like I don't think that there's ever like we don't really, people like argue and yell and scream. Like we talk everything out, like no matter how hard or bad it is. It's just like a conversation. What else are some good attributes? I think also to a big one for me is like the willingness to not think that you're perfect. Because I feel like I can only speak for myself, but like you tend to come into like partnerships thinking that like you have everything figured out and you like the prize and the table and all this different stuff until you meet with someone who like makes you accountable. It's like you have everything figured out when you are, I guess, like talking or speaking with people who you're better or ahead of until you actually meet like a life partner. It's just like, whoa, like I'm not perfect. Like I do have things to work on. I could have said this differently. Or I could have said this better in a way. So it's just like definitely a sense of like looking in the mirror and realizing like
Self-awareness with
yeah.
Solana was talking about. And they helped you in the comments. You asked
Really...
before offloading, you testing his capacity, you allow your boyfriend to be himself while maintaining your individuality, not trying to change each other.
Yeah, that's a really big one.
Intentional. Yeah, they help you already. They was able, just by you sharing, they was able to pick out some of your good qualities. So I guess this will help too. But what were some of the ways over the years that you invested in the relationship?
So we spent a lot of time like I think one thing that's like very unique of our relationship is that we have like these very like little intricacies in our relationship where, for instance, in our first year, this is something that he brought to our relationship. There is something where like you could give gifts based on the year that you've been together. So like year one would be cotton. So you get something that is cotton gift, like a cotton gift. That could be a shirt, that could be socks. It could also be a book that the pages are made out of cotton. Year two could be copper. Year three, like it's like a list. You could literally Google it year and gifts. And like there's a list that you could follow until like I think like your 80th anniversary.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was something that we started doing in year one, which was just like very one unique, but also too fun because instead of like giving gifts based on like just material things, we really had to like think outside of the box. So gifts one became a challenge, but also like you really had to put an effort into finding something that is within this material that fits that person. So every year for anniversary, we do this gift and like we happen to like end up with just like very unique gifts that we wouldn't have, I think, bought without this like sort of this guide. Another thing is that we definitely quality time is like very important for the both of us. So, I mean, past being long distance and like when I was in Spain, I was, I think 6 hours ahead from him. So that was just like a huge effort to like actually communicate and talk with one another. But we also do check-ins every Sunday where like we sit down and go over the week and talk about like the good things, but also too like these check-ins, we like to call them like safe spaces where let's say like something bothered me or something bothered him like earlier in the week and like there was never, because you always like, you know, in your daily life, you don't really always have the time to be like sit down or like talk about something because like we're constantly moving. So on Sundays, if there's something that like bothered me or bothered him, like this is the opportunity where we can bring it up and share without there being like a reactive response. So I feel like sometimes when we like especially bring up something that is hurtful or whatever, like because you're caught off guard in like your day-to-day life, you tend to react being like, what? I didn't even like mean it like that. Like, why are you getting mad? But when we do it on Sunday, especially if like when it's on Sunday, it's just like it's a safe space. Like you can't react in a way. You can't like get defensive almost.
Yeah.
It's like this is the opportunity to talk about it with like no, can't get mad. You gotta just sit with it. We started this, I think 2 years ago, where we started writing letters to each other a year so writing letters to each other the beginning of the year and opening it a year later. So that's really fun because I feel like Stan introduced that. We started that, I don't know, sort of like to be a reminder of like, okay, no matter where you end up, no matter if things get hard, like this is where we was when it was really good and really like just like blissful. We also have this little like I said, we have a lot of stuff. And like I would think that some people would think that it's like cheesy, but it definitely helps in terms of like these little small things that like always draw us closer together. We also have like a little box where on our check-ins we write notes every week about what was good on the week. So at the end of the year, we get to read all of the good stuff within 52 weeks. And I think the last thing is we have a book, like a scrapbook, where like all our photos or notes or our yearly review is written into, where we just be like, what was our best memory of the year? What is our best, our favorite food, the thing that made us laugh? What is the thing that we grew the most from? So like each of us get to fill out these little prompts. And I think to add to that is that these things are really, really fun, but I think that they wouldn't be possible without Stan's willingness to actually participate. And he's definitely very, like, always just willing to do any, like, silly little thing that I find on TikTok, but also to introducing them into the relationship as well. And I think it goes back to, like, how serious we take the relationship on both ends.
I love that. And I like the every year a unique gift. I never heard of that until you said it just now, but I saw where someone dropped it in the chat. a photo of it, of an example of what it looks like. Thank you, Lily, for sharing that. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah,
But
it's
every
really
year
fun.
on your anniversary, you guys get each other a gift from this list,
Yeah.
basically.
So like, and then like every year is associated with a different thing. So one year could be wood. So you just have to be like, okay, wood could be anything. I'm not just gonna buy you a piece of wood, but like, um, what could be the thing that I get? So yeah, it's
So
really fun. Like
are you guys planning to start it over when you get married?
we talked about it. No, um,
Okay.
just because it's like, man, I want to get, I want to get on with it. I don't want another iron gift. Iron was so hard. Iron was the first year. We was just like, let's just go. Like, don't try to be lovey-dovey with it. I got a cast iron, he got an iron. Iron was so hard. And then this year was copper. We didn't even do this year because it was just like, what is copper? Like, I could get you a copper necklace or bracelet, but like, are we just doing it just to have something copper? Like, I don't really want any copper. So we did like this is the first year we didn't actually get something off the list.
And then I saw someone ask a question. I saw
That was
it.
Slim. Can you ask the question out loud, please?
It's a bit noisy in the background. That's why I typed it.
No, it's okay.
Were you both still learning each other in the process of dating and, being together, learning yourself at least?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Are we still learning each other? Oh, definitely. I think that every stage of that was the question, right? If we still learning each other.
No, no, yourself, like individually in the process of being in a relationship.
Are we still learning ourselves individually in the process of being in a relationship?
Correct.
Yes, definitely. Like, so we both, one thing that I've always been an advocate of is individualism in our relationship. So like us having lives outside of each other. I can talk stand business right now. He in London right now for work, having fun, having a good old time. But yeah, so definitely still learning one another. Like I say, I call myself the biggest grow up because like I find that I'm always just reflecting on how I could be a better person in general, um a better sister, a better daughter, a better friend, and a better partner. But we definitely have like lives outside of our relationship and like our own personal like struggles and like victories that we go through. So yeah, it's definitely like it's not just like the relationship is like the only thing we got going on. Definitely like I think my favorite story to talk about. But there's balance. I've been finding stuff to do while he in London living it up. And then I went to Turkey earlier this year. So it's like, yeah, like we both still have our things going on outside of the relationship.
Learning each other. I love
And we
that.
are learning ourselves and developing ourselves individually. Like we have our careers, our friends, our families.
Yeah, he said I am London child.
In London.
So that kind of segues well into my next question for you, because as you answered her question about you guys are constantly learning each other and learning and evolving individually and then as a couple. I know that from year one, Kache is a different year 7, year 6, year 5, year 4. And so like kind of how have you evolved like from year 1 to where you are now as a, in your journey of being a girlfriend?
Right. I think in so many ways, oh my goodness, it's so much different things that I could think of, but I think like the biggest one that sticks out to me is definitely like my communication style. I feel like when I first entered the relationship, we always talk about like our communication. So when I first entered the relationship, like I feel like in general, I lie. Let me just talk for myself. I is a biggity gal. So I definitely entered the relationship being rowdy, biggity. I can yell at you. I gonna raise my voice. I can do all of this emotion. And San just wasn't having it. And like, I don't mean like wasn't having it in the like he rowing back, you know, because like I said, Stan is very calm, very steady. San just wouldn't engage with me. And like, not like silent treatment, but he would just, I remember there was like a specific moment I was doing all of this, and Sarah was just looking at me like, and it was at that moment that I was just like, Kache, you sound dumb. Like, we grown adults and you can't communicate. You can't just like communicate, like you have to raise your voice to get your point across. And that was definitely a very pivotal moment for me, because I realized that like I can't be coming into a relationship with like I guess what I'm used to, or like the way that I'm used to communicating with other people. So that definitely was just like something that I had to work on. And then from there, I feel like my communication just got a lot better. I was like, and again, like my self-reflection, like able to like figure out or like find things where like we growing distant, like let's talk about it. Like we need to do something at the end of this week to like connect in some way. So definitely communication. Another thing that he would say is like my trust. Like I said, like I came out of a really bad relationship. So coming into a healthy relationship, like I still had a lot of baggage in terms of like not trusting my partner, well, not trusting him, and thinking that like, you know, any girl he talked to is just like something going on, or like just not even believing that like he was serious about the relationship. So that definitely was like a growing pain for a while. But I think for him, he was very patient with me, but also too like just always just very reassuring that it's just like, you know, like I am serious about you, like there's nothing going on, as annoying as I was at the time. Where like now it's just like I just trust him, he just trusts me. So that caused a lot of strain on the relationship in the initial stages. And then I think the last thing would be my independence. I'm very independent person, to the point where again it would lead back to my communication. So sometimes I don't always communicate that, like if I going through something or something is challenging. So my independence and my lack of communicating would cause me getting mad at him if he didn't know I was going through something. So it'd be like, I need help with something. I'm not saying I need help with something, but I'm mad because you don't know that I need help with something. So that definitely was like something that I had to work on.
I feel like that's common with females.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. I feel like that's common. We all could work on that one.
Yeah. It's just like, why don't you just say that you need help? Or I did this thing where if he had a lot in his plate, I wouldn't communicate like I struggling, because it's like he has so much on his plate. Like I can't tell him like I struggling, and then it like at the most inconvenient time, I would just fall apart. And that was definitely there was some moments which is like, Kache, you choosing right now to like, this is like very much not convenient. And like I had to like learn how to manage myself better. Boy, we got to talk about that after this call. There was some times it was just like I fall apart at the wrong times, and like I wrong for that. And so we had to navigate that. Like, how do I get better at communicating? Like before it's time to fall apart, that I ain't doing good.
But that's good, as you said earlier in the conversation, you had said that that was one of the better qualities of your relationship now is your communication. So you guys have evolved and it worked out. And you said trust too. So you came a long way from year one, you
Yeah.
know. Now, someone had asked a question. If you don't mind, you can unmute.
Good night.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
I am very much late, but I am catching the end part. I just want to say I love Kache and Stan both so dearly.
Hi,
I always admire
Jen.
Hey, Kache. I've always admired their relationship, but it's really um good to see that they are humans too. You know, you always look at the glitz, the glam, and I just didn't imagine that, you know, they would have their issues too. It's not my business to even ask, but every time we see them, you know, we go on date nights, we play games together. It just looks like they always have it together. And um, you know, I just want to say, you know, it's good to see the human side of it and to see, and it gives me a little bit of inspiration in my own relationship to know that you can grow. There's room for growth.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that you said hit home because it's stuff that I still am challenged with. So I just wanted to say that. Sorry for being long-winded. And then the question is, what do you advise or what are some tips that you would give an extremely busy couple? I know the whole point is to be intentional and you want to do that in your relationship, but sometimes just finding that time could be difficult. So you see these cute things on TikTok, yes. You start it even, but how do you remain consistent? I remember your engagement story. I still tell everybody to work this. Anybody that I see, I tell them this story. And I always go back at it because I love that y'all were working on this painting for
Yeah.
6 years. And this was something that, you know, this y'all started this and y'all were consistent with it. What advice would you give someone? Like I said, you're in a relationship, both of you have these hectic schedules. You want to be intentional, but you can't find the time really and truly.
Right.
That's it because I babble a lot. Go on.
So thank you so much, Jam, for that. I would also like to add, like, me and Stan are not perfect at all. I think my sisters, I always try to like be transparent with my sisters about like maybe like difficult times that we have. Just to like, I don't know, like I never want us to be one of those people who like you think it's perfect and then all of a sudden like you break up and you're like, wow, it wasn't perfect like that, like we thought. So me and him are still growing, always learning. There's be challenges and difficulties. I think just the way that we face our difficulties makes it easier because like we don't have grievances that linger. Like there's nothing I think between me and Stan in the last 7 years that like I still holding on to because every little micro thing is always talked about and always worked through. And I think that's like the only thing I'll add for like the in terms of not being perfect, but we do try to talk about everything. So like, yeah. And then the next thing she mentioned, our engagement, and I just wanted to give people insight on that. So one of the things you asked the question, what do we do in terms of investment? And one of our things that I didn't mention was that we paint on the same canvas. We're both like into art. So we've been painting on the same like canvas every year for the past 5 years. And it's a technique that was coined by his dad called jamming. And it's basically like you get a blank canvas, you paint on it, but you could paint over the person's painting, like it's just like constantly, oh, it's right here. This is year 6. So
Oh,
like it's just like painting on one canvas for the past 5 years. So like this was something different earlier in the year and we painted over it. It's still not done, but we've taken photos of every painting in the last 5 years. And then after the following year, we paint over it. And so that's how he proposed to me. He got every single painting printed. And I showed up to an art gallery expecting to see the show that was there previously. My sister tricked me, and it happened to be that I walked into all of our paintings on the wall of the gallery, and then he proposed there. So it's just like very nice that something that we had been working on together for the past 5 years ended up being the way that he proposed. I want to get engaged at the Grand Canyon. So I was very like tunnel vision focused on, I just know when we go to Grand Canyon in December, that's where it's gonna happen. We're not even going to the Grand Canyon anymore. But the question.
So he threw you off, basically.
He threw
Like,
me
what did you think
off.
when you walked in and you saw the paintings? Like, did it click immediately? Okay.
I straight up was just like, somebody stole our paintings. Wait a minute. Like I was so thrown off. And like even too, he had told me that he was at a work event. So even when I knew it was him behind it, I just was like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to message him and be like, this is so sweet. How did you know? Like I needed like a gesture of love. Like I was like, can't wait to call him. And so he wasn't there when I walked in.
Oh, so you walked in alone.
Yeah, with my sister like recording, but like me and my sister was going on a date. So I didn't think anything of it. And it wasn't until I got to the last painting, Snotty Nose crying because each painting had like a written note next to it. Snotty Nose crying, and I turned around and he was there. He said it was like a deer caught in headlights, like just completely taken off guard. Like I could have fainted. I could have passed out on my engagement. I would have been on World Star, fainting in the hospital because shock.
I could imagine because you had Grand Canyon in your mind. So you was thinking December.
I was thinking December, not July. And then on top of that, the day of our engagement, and again, my sister was in on it. I went and I was just like, because I knew we were gonna get engaged at some point. And I remember the day we got engaged, I went to my sister and was just like, so how you think you're gonna propose? Like, you know, you're just talking to your sister about, I was just like, how you think you're gonna propose?
Wow.
She didn't flinch at all. She was just like, in 10 years or 15, because we'd been together 7 years. And I just was like, I guess 10. But like, how would I have, like, it's like almost like my nervous system knew, but I was focused on the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell me it couldn't be the Grand Canyon.
Consciously, she knew, yes.
Yeah. Now, I forgot what Jem's actual question was. I ain't gonna lie.
Tips, man, Kache, tips.
What the question was, Jem? I going all over.
I think it was tips for busy couples.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Okay, I got this. So I would say like everyone has like different levels of busyness. But I think that you just have to find what works for you. And like sometimes like less is more. So a lot of our best moments and most like engaging conversations and like moments where we grow and are close with one another it happens on the couch. It happens at home. Like we always, and we are both homebodies as well. So we always like look for things to engage and interact with each other, like at home. And so I think like just finding what works for you, and then like don't allow the social media relationships make you feel like you're supposed to be going on a trip every year. Like, I think that like we get so caught up in like what other people are doing, and it takes away from ourselves and like our relationship. So I think that is in a lot of, like it gets in the way of our happiness. But like me and Stan really is just like, one, we schedule out like monthly dates. So I have like a little Google Doc that we both share, where like at the beginning of the year, this is actually our first year doing this year. At the beginning of the year, we set like every month, this is what we want to do. And like one date was like the carnival, like just very like simple, like it doesn't have to be extravagant. The next date was like going to the gun range. Like, so like we like to do like outdoorsy interactive things, which is,
But you plan ahead.
we plan ahead, or like we plan ahead, but we like have it like set for each month. And then what had happened in this year, like if we had like the carnival set for January, maybe it didn't happen and something else came up, So like ice call everything a date. We go and drive in the KFC, I call it at a date. Because it's quality time. Like we go on driving by the water, I call it at a date because for me, it's just like I'm not gonna miss out on the opportunity to call like any quality time with Stan a date, because what's a date? Like, is dinner a date? No, not necessarily. Like anything could be a date. If you call it that, sometimes we just go to his parents' backyard, and I just be like going on a date to the backyard. So I think one, scheduling like things a month in advance. But if those things don't happen, because like some things in our month plan of this year didn't happen, but something else came up that we didn't plan for, child, I just go right on Google Docs and take out the date that we had scheduled and put the thing that happened. Like we went to something for his school through a like little mixer. Charlie went right on Google Docs. I said, I take out bowling, and I put that right there. I said, yes, it wasn't planned, but it was like, that was my date with him, in my opinion. So I think don't get caught up so much on the like what the date looks like, but just be like, everything is a date. And then if you do want something special, what is within your capacity. So like for me, if like we want to connect in some way, but like we probably don't have time or something, I just gonna cook dinner and say, hey, like I would like to have dinner together at home. An hour of your time would be great. The most busiest we've ever been was when he was in law school, and I was like, well, he was in law school for like 5 years, about a 7-year relationship. But I remember last year when he was during exams, this was like his final exams of law school. And he probably had he had no time. He had no time to do anything, but we talked about it before exams and like literally scheduled out a time where it's just like, okay, I need at least 1 hour a week, which is not a lot, but like I understood like the sacrifice and like also the pressure that he was under. So like literally during that time when he was studying for exams, like I got 1 hour of his time a week. It may have been more because it's been over a year. And like within that time would be like either he's coming by me just to like sit for an hour, or we would go drive to the pet store. We both look like animals. We would go for a pet store date and look at the fish, look at the plants, and then go home. So I think it's just a matter of coming up with what works for you at that time. And just knowing that like there's a time for sitting on the couch and dating, but there's also a time for going out for dinner and dating, and they're not always gonna be like with the way you date.
Yeah. And that's something, I know you had touched on it a little earlier when you was answering this question, but that's something that you could do when, we're not so caught up on comparing ourselves, like you said, or looking at the highlight reel, because if you look at the highlight reel, you wouldn't have that perspective about the backyard.
Depression.
You wouldn't think like, oh, going on a date to the backyard, because you're like, you know what, I'm not dressed up and going to a fancy restaurant, so this must not be special. But really it is.
Because it's time with your partner. So also too, to add with the social media, like, and I guess like how self-aware I am. Like I noticed, this is right before we got engaged. I noticed I was spending a lot of time on TikTok, and like you to be so careful. I'm currently like not even on social media anymore, because I just started to notice like the way that social media was dictating my mood and like my feelings and my thoughts. So I've been off of social media for a month now. But right before we got engaged, I noticed that one, I was spending a lot of time on TikTok, but I was in the TikTok, my boyfriend cheated on me, I'm in an abusive relationship, like the toxic relationship part of TikTok. And I legit started to notice that I started to get angry at Stan.
Oh,
Like I was starting to get irritated with him. Like when I would see him, like there was something in me that was like there was a distrust that was building up in me. And I remember I talked to him like right the day before I left TikTok or the day before I left social media. I was just like, you know, I'm leaving social media because I noticed that it's making me mad at you. That's just it. Like it making me mad at you and like want to pick an argument with you. And I just don't want that control over me. So I definitely would say like just be very careful with like what you consume on like TikTok, Instagram, like in terms of like the algorithm just sending you anything and you getting into it. Like everything we consume impacts us like in the real world. And then also to seeing people on their vacations every single month. We don't know what their relationship look like. They probably hate each other.
mhm.
I'm gonna take my backyard date and we going to Tulum in December. Woo, woo.
You going to where?
Tulum for my birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really,
That's
really
gonna be
fun.
fun.
But and then also too, I would say like within 7 years that we've been together, we've been on 2 trips. So it's like not a, you know what I mean? Like how some people are on trips like every year. It's just like, you know, they on their trip or like they doing stuff. Like it's just like, you know, within that 7 years, there was sacrifices of law school. There was sacrifices of like us building something and having to be grounded. So like everything comes with time and like managing like where you're at. So it's like imagine while he was in law school, like I was on Instagram looking at everybody on their trips being mad because I ain't on no trip.
Yeah. When that was just a season.
Right.
But we got to protect our air gates and our eye gates, y'all.
Yeah.
We got to protect our eye gates. Zemi, I see you raise your hand. You have a question, a comment?
Yes, so from Tamara told me mute my mic, so I do in order right now. I'm being mindful. But one of the things that led us to have this, to ask you to be a part of this conversation was a picture that Stan had shared, talking about how you supported him through law school and, like when you would quiz him and stuff like that. So I think that's a good thing as well to highlight, because, a lot of us, depending on what season someone may be in, your husband may be wanting to go back to school or you may want to go back to school and like thinking about how you could be really supportive through that season, not just with like, hey, I only need an hour, like you express the expectations, but also how you really helped him in that season as well.
Yeah. So like, and with that, like I think also to his willingness to let me help him, like being like, I'm here if you need me, and like him saying like, yeah, like I could use you testing me on these things. Like within his 5 years of being in law school, although during his exams was the most challenging because I only had an hour, let's say a week, it also like brought us so close together because I felt like I got to like be a part of like him finishing his degree and like all the years of like time and effort that he put into it, like staying up with him, testing him for his exam, like being there. I met him at his house every morning before he went to his exam and then every evening when he came back home from his exam. So it's just like that was like me just making sure that I was there to like see him off and like see him to these really huge exams, and preparing him in whatever way or capacity that he would allow me. But yeah, just a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's hard work.
I see he said that's it's your degree too. That's your degree too. So how did you have moments of where, because I know that was only for a season, but during that process of waiting in a sense, because like you said, you ask your sister, I wonder what it would be like when I get engaged. So how was that process? Did you have moments of frustration just knowing like I believe that this is my husband, but he hasn't popped the question yet? How did you navigate that in
No.
between?
So like we definitely, I think he was very clear from the get-go. One, I was not ready to be a wife or engaged. I'm turning 30 in December. I was trying to let him to wait till I turned 30 to propose to me, because so I could be like, the 20s was for myself, even though I was in a relationship for the whole time. So one, I knew from when we started dating that I was not ready to be married. Like I still trying to get myself together. Like I still trying to like figure out how to like manage my emotions and like build my career. And then two, he can't propose to me while he in law school. That's just crazy. So it was very clear from like very early on that it's just like the intentions are marriage, but law school comes first. So I mean, we definitely had people, because again, we used together for 7 years, being like, when you gonna pop the question? And it never cost any strain in the relationship, because we would just look at each other and be like, these people, like, we doing things, you know. So it never caused frustration, because we talked about it very, very early on about like what the expectation was. And so when he graduated last year, the minute he finished, he was just like, my next step is like saving money to buy you a ring. So I was just like, okay. You know, and like, it's just a matter of like when, like I knew it was going to happen either this year or next year, preferably next year when I was 30, but I'll take it. So I knew
He
it was
had to
gonna
throw
happen.
you off.
He had to throw me off.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, my December would have been too obvious. So yeah, like I think he just was always very like clear about his intentions and clear with communicating with me. And then I think that I just took that as like, you know, this is what he says. If this time frame doesn't work with me, I need to leave. Like I can't hear him say, yeah, when I finish law school, and then get mad within the 7 years. Like I knew how long law school was gonna be. So imagine me getting mad or like frustrated that he didn't propose, if it's like, but you knew he was gonna finish in 7 years. So you was just staying, hoping that it would happen before then. Like that's crazy and like just unfair. So no.
Yeah, exactly. He said we right on time. Do you guys think, and I want you to answer this, Kache, and then I also want, if you guys to put in the chat, I want your opinion too. Are there things that you feel is girlfriend only status versus this is wife status? If that makes sense. Girlfriend duties versus wife duty.
Girlfriend duties versus wife duty. Well, I never been a wife before. So I don't really know. Like, can you give me an example?
Well, there are some times where people would say, like how you said you guys are going on a trip. Some people feel like trips only for,
okay.
Some people feel like, I don't know, cooking is only for, you know, you only get, oh no, laundry, only a wife.
Only after marriage. Yeah, I think that we operate in terms of like, we build in our relationship like into what the expectation will be in marriage, if that makes sense. Like not when you put a ring on my finger, then you could get this type of thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Because I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
Okay, so I also want to pose this question because it's 30 of us in this room. I want you guys to put it in the chat. I'll give you a couple of stuff like, and then you tell me if you feel it's girlfriend duty, wife duty, or both. Because it could be both. Some of these things could be either one.
Right.
So what do you think about cooking? There's a question for everyone. Just put it in the chat. Is this a girlfriend duty, wife duty, or both?
Yeah, I think so.
Here and there, girlfriend. Both. Okay. What about kissing?
I think both.
Both. Everyone gone quiet with that one. Okay. Both. Both. What about doing laundry? They say,
Doing laundry. I feel like Stan will do his own laundry.
but they say that's the people saying that's wife duty anyway.
Yeah,
You get an overwhelming response of
I'm so sorry. I can't do your laundry.
you get okay. What about vacations and trips? Trips out of the country, girlfriend, wife,
I
or
don't
both?
trust. Yeah, he don't trust me to iron Rude.
Oh, he don't trust you, but you're like, you don't do a good job in that area.
One time.
One time you burn a hole in the pants.
Yes.
Oh, yes, he said I lost some pants. Okay, so it's saying, okay, the trip seems like that's the one where everyone is a little half and half with that, both, but takes a lot of discipline. Both girlfriend trips with boundaries. Stan saying never again. He feels some type of way about them pants.
I don't iron.
Okay, a lot of people saying yes, but with boundaries. And last one, what about going to each other's like a company party, like a Christmas party, a work party?
I I feel like it depends. People saying both, but I think it depends on like how serious the girlfriend and boyfriend thing is.
Okay.
Like, don't be having me come to your work party if you ain't serious about me.
Don't waste my time, eh?
Don't be
Everyone's
wasting my
saying both.
time.
That makes sense. That's yeah, everyone on one accord with that. The only one would throw everyone off was that vacation trips.
Oh
Everyone
yeah.
are different. So when you say don't take you to the party if you ain't serious, like when it comes to meeting other people in his life, like how was that process when you had to meet, other important people, the family, friends, siblings, co-workers? Well, no, you were his co-worker.
I was his coworker.
Yeah.
But I met his family like as his girlfriend. So like very seamless. I think like we met. Well, he knew my mom and grandmother before I even met him because he worked on the island.
Mhm.
And so my mom has a store in Eleuthera, so he would frequent there with students from the island school. So he had met them before before we even knew each other. And my mommy is very proud of that. So that was just like, yeah, like now I'm dating this guy that you already knew. And then with his family, obviously I lived in Eleuthera at the time, so it was a matter of like coming to Nassau to meet his family. And I just very seamless, very easy on both ends. Both of our families like welcomed each other very easily, very like welcoming. We both do agree though that if our families didn't like each other, we probably wouldn't have pursued dating. So it's really nice that both of our families like liked and approved of each other because child.
It wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, you have to have your like non-negotiables, I feel.
Mhm.
And like one of them is just like, you gotta be able to get along with my family. So, and he was the same, was just like, if they don't like you, then it's my family. Like, I'm not about to go against my family for a relationship.
Mhm.
So,
Someone said, tell the French leave story in the comments.
so who says tell a French leave? Oh, French leave is a Katarina. That's my sister. So, oh, the French leave story. So when he met my family, so this was New Year's. This would have been like, I think a month after we had met one another. And we was to dinner at this restaurant called French Leave for New Year's. And here comes, I was tired, I had heels. Like, when you're wearing the heels and like the one strap is like strap around your ankle. I had on those type of shoes and my feet was hurting. So I kicked the shoes off of my foot, but the shoe was still attached to my foot by the ankle. Here comes Stan in with all of like the island school coworkers. They happen to choose French leave to come and celebrate New Year's. The minute I see him, I was just like, no, 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 no. And he literally decided he's gonna come over to our table. Like, I don't know you. So I'm like frantically trying to get my shoes on. He comes over, introduces himself to my entire family. My older sister, who's the one who brought this story up, says that she knew that he liked me from then and there. He says he didn't start to like me until like February or March or something like that. But she was just like, no, like who comes and introduces like you to your entire family? Like none of the other coworkers did.
Yeah, that's pretty bold.
Very, very bold. So like he just
And
that's
he's saying he didn't like you yet.
he
That's
said
what he claims.
he claims that he didn't like me yet, but I think that he knew. And see, I didn't even like her yet. I think he knew the same way I knew I was gonna get proposed to, but didn't know. I think he knew and didn't know. So that was how we met everyone one time, except my mommy, because he had already met her. But yeah. Crazy.
Okay.
And then with his family, when I came to NASA, they took me out for dinner, which was again just like very welcoming.
Well, that's nice. So it was seamless meeting
Yeah.
the each other's important people.
Yeah.
And so my last question for you is, how would you advise a sister or best friend who is single? How would you advise them in navigating their weight and navigating the world of singleness right now until they meet their person?
So I'm going to give you the advice that I guess the path that I went. Be okay being single for the rest of your life. Like I remember before I met Stan, again, like I said, I had like really bad relationships right before like me and Stan started dating. I remember, again, this is this is right before I got to the island school. I was just like, you know what? Like I okay being single forever. Like I'm fine, I'm cool. Like I could make a really good life being the rich auntie. Like I just know I would have a good time. And I also wasn't willing to get hurt again, and also wasn't willing to like give my time to someone that didn't deserve it. And I genuinely was just like very, very, very okay with being single for the rest of my life. How old was I at that time? When I was fresh out of college, I was like maybe 21. I was very, very young, but definitely still very like, no, I can't. I definitely can. He said I was 22. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't have courage to do it anymore. And then while I was at the island school, I remember it was one night I was crying and I literally was just like, Lord, I'm ready to love again. And shortly after that, that's when me and Stan started dating. So I think one, like, don't want a relationship more than like, or don't be willing to like be in a relationship just for being in a relationship's sake. And I think also to be okay with being by yourself, not alone, but being with yourself, is what I would say, because then you actually start to learn who you are as a person. I think also to like have your non-negotiables. I mentioned that earlier. This is something that I always used to tell my sisters, where it's just like, your non-negotiables are things that if this person in the dating world, if this person does or doesn't do these things, like I can't date them. Like it's just like non-negotiable. So like for me, if my family didn't like Stan, I simply cannot pursue dating Stan. So for me, that helps you narrow down every guy you meet, not being a potential partner. So it's like if your non-negotiables are whatever they are, when you meet someone and they have this non-negotiable, or they have this thing that you're just like, no, this is not an option. You just know immediately that's not the person for you.
Yeah.
So it's like you could save your time and your energy, not wasting on like trying to talk to this person if you know like that's not the person that's for you, because you know what your non-negotiables are. So I think that's like a big thing. And like I think when I say non-negotiables, I don't mean like your height, people, the typical like your height, like your career, like all these different things. Like I mean like what are the qualities and character of a person. So like for me, like kindness was non-negotiable. Like I will not be with someone that's not kind. I think that when you meet someone, you have to be able to distinguish what are things that are their character and what are things that you can work on. So what y'all don't know about San is I call him my bushman, because when he's at island school, it's an environmental institute. So he was constantly in the water, in the sun, like just roughing it. Then both of us was. And I was just like, I could work on that. So it's just like, like it's the difference, which is like I could work on us roughing it. Now he's in his little suit. This news to me. So can't stand you.
He didn't know what that nickname.
In the bush, okay. Now he's being
Now he in London.
Now he in London in a suit and tie. Oh, okay. And he's always say that he was literally at the island school waiting for me to find him because he left shortly afterwards. But
wow.
Shared a file in the meeting. What file you share in the meeting? So annoying. So yeah, I think the difference between like big on character, and like the type of person you are, because everything else can be worked on. I think it's more important is character. What else in terms of dating? I feel like I wrote something down.
But your advice to a sister or best friend.
Okay. Yeah, and then I also think yeah, no, I think that's all I have. I think that's like big on like a lot of times, like especially like my single friends, like like when we were in college, I always would be like, why are you wasting your time talking to someone that you know is not the person that even like has an ounce of marriage material? And I feel like when you do that, yes, you might just say like, oh, like this for fun, or like this for you just talking to talk, but like there's an energy exchange that's happening. And I think that when you are not disciplined in like not wasting your time and wasting your energy on people that might not potentially be your husband, you delay meeting that person because you still engaging in these energy exchanges that are not meant for like a girlfriend. So it's like when I met Sam, like I didn't have anybody in my roster, like I wasn't talking to anyone, there was no potential anybody. Is like I was single because I was generally just like, I want to be single. So I wasn't like single and talking to people at the same time. I was single being like, I'm not talking to nobody. So I think just be very intentional about like your access, not to the point where like someone comes along and it's just like, it doesn't fit your dream guy, that you're just like, no, you don't fit the thing that I have in my head. But to the point where like you're able to distinguish like character versus like, I don't know, what you know is not for you.
Yeah. But definitely in a nutshell of what you said just now is pay attention to your non-negotiables and basically don't settle if you know what your non-negotiables are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the last of my questions. And so we'll open it up for anyone who have questions or comments for Kache or Stan, because Stan's still rocking with us. He's in the comments. Has finances ever been a limiting factor throughout your relationship? How did you both navigate it intentionally?
Yes, definitely. Like I said, like he was in law school and like I was building and still am building my career. So that definitely was difficult and has been difficult through our relationship. But I think it goes back to dating where you're at and just like knowing it's just like this is where we're at right now, but this is not where we're going to be. So just like being patient where we are and like doing with doing what is within our means as opposed to, I don't know, like expecting more from someone that is like very clear with where they're at on both ends.
Any more questions, comments, concerns? We always have to consider finances, but backyard dates are free. That's true, Stan, with the gems.
Backyard dates are free.
Backyard dates are free. And
I have a
especially
question.
when you're
Oh,
not,
sorry.
like you mentioned earlier, not looking at social media and comparing.
Yeah.
You know?
What
I'm
you-
sorry, Debbie, what you was gonna say?
Just how do you envision taking it up a notch when you guys get married? Like the difference that you're gonna present in the relationship when you get married? You think it's just gonna be BAU, just continue from where y'all left off, or you guys plan on like taking it up a level in the devotion, the attention, or just like continuing what you already implemented?
So we do devotions with each other every day. And I definitely think that one, I am excited of what engagement looks like because I know that there is learning to happen like here within this engagement period. One thing I will say like about myself, like I have been noticing that like I am calmer. I don't know how to I don't know how to elaborate on that further because like it's only been like 2 months. I'm still observing my energy and like how I'm different since we've gotten engaged. But we do plan to do therapy before we get married. So we're gonna do therapy with a priest, but also therapy with a counselor, just to make sure that like we are walking into marriage like with no grievances that maybe the Sunday check-ins haven't sorted out, like from a professional on like the religion side, but also like the, I don't know, mental health side. So I'm very, very excited about that because I'm sure that what we've done like on our own in terms of like growing and learning each other and working through things only goes so far, but like both of those people in both of those fields, I think will be able to take us a lot further in preparation for marriage. And then in terms of marriage, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say that I have like more expectations, but I think just like, I think we both just enjoy where we are at. And I think that's what has, given us so much joy. So it's just like when I was a girlfriend, like I was just like happily, blissfully a girlfriend, knowing that one day I'll be a wife, but like here I am engaged, being like, like I wonder what is here for us in the seasons as fiancés. And I'm willing to like learn what that is and whatever lessons are here for us. And when I become a wife and he becomes a husband, we'll see what that brings too, what that could look like.
That could be the part two.
See.
Part two gonna have you and Stan in person.
Right. That sounds
I think
good
so.
to me.
I know your sisters were heavily involved, along the journey, and you kind of co-signing. But how would you have viewed the relationship differently if like on both sides it wasn't as warm of a reception from like the in-laws, so to speak? So if his family that wasn't super welcoming or they was, more cautious or even mean, like would you have still cultivated what you were building with him, exterior to all of that? Or, like, yeah,
No,
'cause that was important.
Yeah, that was like super important. That was like my non-negotiable. It's just like I'm not gonna date someone that my family doesn't get along with. And especially my sisters. And I think him as well. And like we've been very, very, very intentional and put in a lot of work of even to getting our families to know each other. So like all of our siblings have met at like various times within our 7 years being together. His brother and one of my sister, my younger sister, just met literally like 2 months ago, like right after we got engaged. But we've been very intentional of like, whenever we are in the same place, we're all gonna do something. So it's like, it just for me ensures that at the wedding is not like the place that everyone meets each other. And it's just like this already, these bonds and memories that have happened within the dating process. The same as like his parents and my parents have had like many like times together, which is like we want there to be familiarity. We want them to know that like we family now. So it's like y'all need to be able to, get along, and it's received on both sides, where like both sides of the family shows up and like includes each other in like festivities and like different things that are happening. Like his mom just had a birthday party and my parents was there and both of my sisters were invited. So it's like inclusivity.
I think I see Aunt Denny in the chat. So welcome, Aunt Denny.
Oh,
So mom is in the chat as
and
well.
my mom is there too.
Oh, beautiful. Love that.
Yeah, so I think from both ends, like just very, very, very supportive family, which makes it a lot easier. Like I obviously know like there are relationships that stand the test of time when families don't like the partner that you've selected, but it has made it easier, just like feeling welcomed from his family and like vice versa. But I think because of who me and him are, which is like we're very logical people, we talked about it. We wouldn't have pursued it if both of our families weren't for it, because it's too hard. Like I could just be sad for the rest of my life. Like this is my partner, but my family doesn't like him, or vice versa. Like that's just so sad. Um, but yeah.
I love that. Any more questions or comments for Stan or Kache?
I just wanted to ask if Stan is putting on classes for the men about to propose. Like if you have no clue what to do, could they reach out to you? Just asking for a friend,
That's so good.
Could Stan share some tips? Oh, he said I gotta find a way to make money on this. Put out a course. There's an online course for everything these days. Go ahead and put out a course on how to be thoughtful in engagement.
But no, for real on that point, I just wanted to say, you brought something to light. It's really hard sometimes during your waiting period. So you've been through the rough patch, you've been through these rough relationships, and here it is. Okay, you find this person, and it's like you're thinking things supposed to just speed along. I for you, you for me. So what is the holdup?
Right.
And I think for you, you had mentioned something because you had not hit 30 yet. But what about those persons who are already in their 30s? You kind of already did this checklist thing.
Right.
So you know that this is the person for you. You already spoke to God about it, but things aren't progressing the way you wanted to. And I felt a little guilty because you said, at each stage you were you were blissful, sorry, and you were excited about what unfolded. But what if you are not necessarily consumed with a wedding, but you know what the next is, and it's like you're not getting to the next,
right,
and you allow it to like
Festa.
kind of like clutter or cloud what's going on now, because it could be frustrating. I don't know if anybody ever experienced it, but it is kind of frustrating when you could see it right there, but it's like we on hold,
right? And like and the question is a little bit unfair because I have never had that frustration, but I know that is like the normal reaction in terms of the waiting. Like the only thing that I would say is like you have to trust that like within this waiting there is stuff for you to learn. Like you're not gonna get engaged like until like there's something in this period of being girlfriend and boyfriend that like you need to pay attention to. So I don't know if that's like just having a honest conversation with your partner, and like again me and San have just like really good conversations where like I would straight up ask him like, is there stuff that I could work on? It's like I'm not going to take offense to your answer, but I generally want to know like, is there a way that I could be a better partner to you? And like we have that conversation, I would say like not yearly, but it'll come up where it's just like, it has come up where it's just like, how can I be better? What is there something that I've been doing that you maybe you don't like, but you haven't had the room to share that with me, or you haven't felt that I would be receptive of saying, hey, you do this thing, can we talk about it? Because even too sometimes I feel when we having these difficult conversations, I don't have the solution and neither does Stan. And like a lot of time, like we've had difficulties which is like we know that this is the problem, neither of us have a solution, but we just want to bring the issue at the forefront and be like, okay, now what? And like we literally will sit down and talk until we come up with not necessarily a solution but an action plan. So I'll say like one of the things that like we've had to like action plan is just like, okay, like house, like what in the future is going to be like our household like duties, like you said, like like how it's just like I know laundry is not for me, like that's something that he knows, like that's something that we've like talked about and like discussed. So I think like maybe having a conversation, not necessarily being like what's taking so long or like why we ain't engaged, but I think being open to the possibility that there is a reason why, not a reason, but like you are in this space to learn something, and maybe it's patient, and like also too, like if you with someone and you know that that's the person and like the intentions are clear, like you're not, the intentions have been made that like y'all gonna be married, then you have to trust that y'all are gonna be married when that man thinks that he is ready. But also too, is the man being ready in the time frame that you are willing to wait? So like you can't wait forever, but you have to like know that it will happen. So like I think if I didn't know that San would propose, like if he finished law school and it was like 3 years after law school and he ain't proposed yet, I think then I would obviously be like, I'm about to pack my bags. Because before I met you, I was okay being single. So I'm not about to wait all this time. So I think you need to ask yourself, okay, so what is there to learn? But also to maybe have a conversation with your partner and be like, you know, like, what could we do differently? Like, how do you feel about this relationship? Is there anything that you think that we can work on? Like me and Sam have dialogues like that where we literally talk about it. Like I always tell my sister, we talk like robots. It's just like, and so how do you feel about that? Okay, so how should we moving forward? Like it's very paper to pen, solution based. Like what's the solution to this issue? But then also too, what is your limit? Like how long are you not willing to wait? Like I think that you should have like, what's your tangible cutoff point, which is like, okay, I've done the work, I've had the conversation, it's been 20 years, marriage is my non-negotiable, and that's why non-negotiables are important, because sometimes marriage is not someone's non-negotiable. So it's like, well, 20 years, I don't care, I don't want to get married. But if marriage is a non-negotiable, and it's been 20 years, we've had the conversation and done the work, then I don't know, maybe, just maybe, perhaps you should have had the tangible where it's just like, okay, I'm leaving in like 3 years if nothing's happening.
Those Sunday check-ins though, that you said that you guys do, that probably help with a lot of this too.
Yes.
That touch and base every Sunday. Where are we?
Where are we?
This
What are we
bothered
doing?
me. This is what bothered you, and
Yeah.
go navigating that on a Sunday. I like that. Yeah, regular check-ins.
Very helpful, because I feel like day-to-day life, like it's you both working, majority of the time, your conversations after work every day is about work. Like, this is how work is, this is what I've been up to, this is what happened. But like, I don't think that we actually take the time to be like, how are you? How do you feel? Like, are you overwhelmed? Is there something that I missed this week? Like, was there a story that you were telling me about that I maybe didn't inquire enough about? And I think just like not catching offense on like conversations like that. Like, did my tone bother you? Like, all of that needs to be a part of the conversation, like all the time. So I would definitely recommend the check-ins. The regular check-ins are very, very helpful, and setting the time every Sunday to be like, okay, like this is the time that we connect and we talk about each other and us, as opposed to like just randomly letting conversation move and flow. I think it's just like very, very helpful to like connect with your partner.
And see, we have one of the wives say the check-ins is important in marriage too, even when children are involved. So that's not going to change. I guess your check-ins will just evolve.
Right.
As goes on. Well, Kache, thank you so, so much. Thank you, Stan. Stan was a special bonus because we thought we should get you, but we get the full picture tonight. So I really appreciate that. Also, if you are on our mailing list, her season has a special discount code for Galentine Vibes. So we will be emailing that out sometime after this conversation. I'm trying to see if I have any other announcements that I meant to share. There will be a special discount, so please be on the lookout for that. I hope to see all of your faces. Kache, you got to come to GB as well, honey. You got to be there too. I know y'all planning Mexico, but also put GB on the plans too. You and Stan make some plans. And then also, please join the mailing list so we could go ahead and so you will see, how do we join the mailing list? So there's a link in our Instagram bio. That's the quickest way you can get to it. Oh, Stan travels now. The school is over. So that means y'all could go ahead and put that as we
put that in our calendar.
Put that on the Google Docs.
Right.
GB25 is
right.
So you can join the mailing list. There's a link in our bio and on Instagram. That's the quickest way to add yourself to it. But thank you so much. I enjoyed this conversation and I can't wait to go and watch the replay because like I told y'all, I'm always team replay. Oh, someone's gonna drop the link in here for us. But in closing out, I asked Zemi to just pray for you guys, to pray for Kache and Stan as we closing out, just for your wedding planning process, your engagement process, moving into marriage, all the things. Our Heaven Center is with Zemi's wedding. I thought, how cool, Zemi, just this workout so special that Zemi also is a wedding coordinator sometimes. So she is the perfect person.
Zemi.
So Avanti will drop the link for us, for those of you to sign up for the email list, and we will close out in prayer. Thank you so much, guys, for joining.
Thank you. It was a great time. Even as the married women, we still had fun here as well. I don't know. Can you guys see me? I still see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me. Okay. So it was so great to be over here. So great to be here on the wives side. There was stuff I took away as well. It reinvigorated, the intentionality that I should put in my own marriage, the little cute stuff that you kind of just get into a rut. Like I'm like, Ian, do we date? Because we always going out to eat, we going on walks, and I'm like, so now after tonight, I'm like, yo, we dating all the time because we always pulling up, and so just taking joy in the little moments, I think is so good. And just being, like you said, you were blissful in every season. And there's gonna be more seasons to come. Like there's, being a wife and you don't have kids yet. And then there's that time where you tired because you got a little one. So it's always a new season to find bliss in. So I love that you cultivated it early. Stan and Kache already know about Heaven Center. I was like, y'all, I am so 10 toes down for this marriage. I've been waiting for this. Whatever y'all need, I am there. So they already know. I already talked to them.
Yes.
Exactly. So I'm just so excited for you both. Um, and thank you for coming on tonight as well to share your wisdom with us, because it's so much more that we all could take away. Kache didn't share this. I don't know why, but she is the proprietor of Eyes of Bahamian Bay, that page that has have us all lit and excited to be Bahamian no matter where we are across the world.
Why you we put that in your bio though? Why she share that in her bio when
She
she
got the gal, that shirt that she have on, that's from the
I ain't gonna
store.
lie. Let me tell you why. I literally called him right before this conversation. I said, finally, I'm talking about my one true love. I said, everybody always want to talk about eyes of envy, eyes of envy, eyes of envy. I said, I want to talk about Stan. I said, I'm not interested. Eyes of envy. But
Well,
yeah,
you got a bunch of clients here. Exactly.
of eyes of envy.
Yes. And like a business that, one of the Ian bought me stuff. I got it in the closet. I bought my own stuff. My brother bought me a gift. Like it's just such
Yeah.
a great
I had a
business.
friend buy me something too from there.
Oh,
And we wore it in
Exactly.
Indianapolis actually, like on a girls' trip. We all had on our morning.
Oh, I remember y'all had the morning.
Mhm.
I have a memory of
So you
everyone
global gal, you global.
something. Yeah,
Exactly. So I told him
thank
pull up
you.
with the Eyes of Bahamian Bay booth at GV. Like we've been in talk anyway. We'll talk.
Ben mentioned this. Yeah.
Exactly. We'll talk. But my assignment here is to pray. So let me pray so we all could go about our night. But thank you so much, Kache. Thank you, Stan, in the comments. I know it's late, but you was keeping the comments lit and it was so engaging. Thank you.
Thank
But I'm
you.
just gonna close us out. So Lord, I thank you for this time tonight. I thank you, Lord God, that it was edifying, that it was refreshing, Lord God. I thank you for everything that you have deposited into this couple, their excellence, their intelligence, Lord God, the way that they are culture shifters, Lord, the impact that they are creating in the nation and beyond through their various endeavors, Lord God. I thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for their union and everything that is to come from it. I thank you, Lord God, that their families are ready to partner. They are ready also to become one, just as this couple is about to become one. I pray, Lord God, that you will continue to bless them in every single area of their life, to have new joy out of the relationships that are forming. Yes, she's always been like a daughter to Danny, and vice versa for Kache's parents to stand, but now coming to say like, this is my son, and this is my brother, and just really cementing what this relationship means to both families. So Lord, may you continue to bless them. May their wedding planning process be smooth. May it be a joy and pure bliss every step of the way. Every challenge that comes up, may it present an opportunity for them to problem solve in a new way, to uncover new things about each other, Lord God. And I pray that even as they journey to this wedding day, may it just be a supernatural experience on their wedding day, far beyond what they may even envision. Even after being together for 7 years, may they have freshness in their marriage that they had never experienced before, God. Give them a fresh wind, a fresh newness to each other, God, even after being together for so long. May they uncover things that they didn't even know existed about each other, a new freckle on a toe or something that they never even saw before. Just give them great newness as they enter this new season. So Lord, may you continue to bless them, anoint them, and keep them as they progress. May they be fruitful in this in season, God. May you continue to be with them, guide them, and instill in them wisdom to pour out to others. May you bless their businesses, bless their careers, and everything appointed to them. In the name of your Son, we pray, Lord God. Amen. Amen. So
Amen.
good night, everybody.
So much. This is so fun.
Your first one, and just, it was great. First time being a part of the Wiper community, and she was a speaking guest, and we love it. Her sister, I don't know if y'all remember, her sister Christina was actually one of our poets for
yeah.
GV some years back. But thank you. Chana, I'll give the mic back over to, oh, she already turned off her camera, so I guess it's on me. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Have a blessed night. Bye.